I don't quite understand myself.
Alright, let's leave that for now. Are you injured in any way? Are you there? Do you copy?
I'm still here, but I don't know how long for.
Are you in danger?
One could say so.
Before anything else, I'd like to mention that this game was very annoying to try and record. From the looks of things, this game uses up a weirdly massive amount of VRAM no matter what settings you have, which caused the game to stutter and freeze a lot during both my attempts of recording it as well as just playing it in general. So if you see any footage here that freezes or stutters from time to time, that's why, and that alone is something you need to consider. This game doesn't work great with seemingly anything beyond notably powerful rigs due to these technical issues. Regardless, I think the game is still notable enough to talk about, and, in respect to the developers who have seemingly tried to provide customer support to everyone having these issues, I will try to discuss the game as it is when it's properly functioning and judge the relevant merits there as well. With all that said, today we're talking about a hard sci-fi story game. Very exciting, I know. But this game is also a light adaptation of a sci-fi novel, and, well, I'm a sucker for good sci-fi, so they already got my attention. It's time to explore a world that humanity was never meant to be in and face the consequences for such potential hubris, along with a little bit of futuristic Cold War politicking. This is The Invincible.
There's water on this desert planet. Or another liquid that did not allow the biocenosis to fall. Won't be easy to replenish drinking supplies. Not without tests. Filtration, as we all remember. Third rule.
The Invincible is going for this sort of almost pulpy Cold War era science fiction look into its world, at least as far as we can tell. The game takes place on an alien planet, so we don't know what Earth looks like in this timeline, but we can at least get an idea for things given the technology we see from both the human factions involved, the Commonwealth and the Alliance. Both have somewhat more advanced yet still plausible technology that just looks dated to a modern audience in that sort of retro way. It looks like it's from a bygone era despite the fact that this clearly takes place in some sort of alternate future. And I can definitely get behind that pulp aesthetic. It adds an extra bit of style to what would otherwise just be a really well done, realistic looking world. It also means the robots you encounter just look cool. Regarding the alien world the story takes place on, there's a surprising amount of environmental variety present. I thought it was just going to be desert, and more desert, basically a planet-sized version of Arizona, which is a mistake in the making. But the game manages to show off some gray moon-like surfaces, underground tunnels, and even some powerful rainstorms that are great at setting a mood of survival and desperation. Trying to survive what exactly? Well, let's get into that.
Okay. Careful. Fucking great. I just can't. Pretty much fucked. That's my considered opinion. Fucked.
Spoilers for the story of the game and the book this game is based off are present here, so just making sure you know, you're gonna have to skip ahead if you don't want to get spoiled. The story is a slightly different version of the book of the same name that the game is based off of. The game takes place on the planet of Regis 3, where a small team of scientists on their way back to Earth from a scientific expedition decides to just drop down onto Regis 3 to try and see if they can get some info on the planet before the Alliance does. You know, just a casual excursion onto an uncharted alien world, as you do. You play as Yasna, one of the scientists on the team who wakes up alone on the surface of the planet with little to no memory of how she got there. As she gets into contact with her team leader, Yasna begins to retrace her steps and the steps of her colleagues, trying to recover them and get them back to the home ship while figuring out what happened to her team and, more importantly, what's going on with Regis 3 in the first place. What's most interesting about the story, aside from the sci-fi concepts at play, like self-replicating machines, necroevolution, yeah, that's a word, and other stuff like that, is that the story of the game appears to run in parallel with the actual book. The titular Invincible is an alliance ship that your characters, members of the Commonwealth, find themselves shocked and scared to discover has already landed on the planet. In the book, however, the crew of the Invincible is actually the main cast who were investigating the loss of their sister ship on the surface of Regis 3. Personally, I actually really like the way the story is structured, providing you the same general plot idea as the book, whilst not completely replacing it. Instead, the book and the game can act as sort of companions to each other in an overall story. It gets even better when you find out that a certain choice you make later in the game actually helps decide what ending you get, though the game doesn't tell you that in the moment. And speaking of the game telling you things, what about the gameplay? Well, what gameplay exists, that is.
Are you driving?
I'm going. Please talk to me. Oh, shit! It hit the bonnet!
Don't worry. Even if it hits the rover directly, you'll come out unscathed. The vehicle is kind of a Faraday cage. The energy will flow through the body, discharge into the ground. Everything will be fine. You'll see. I remember a mission on Eden 5. At that time I was still a coordinator, but the crew was quite similar. Chemist, cyberneticist, a doctor, an engineer and a physicist.
The gameplay is the main thing that put me off from the game initially. To be very blunt about it, the game is a walking simulator. You start in one location and then just slowly, very slowly, walk your way over to the next location with more story beats while taking in pretty vistas and having little side conversations with your team leader talking in your ear. The most complex the game really seems to get is when you have to explore a slightly larger area to find the right thing in the environment that'll advance the story more. You might follow some lights on your tracking device, look through the environment on your special metal detector, read some stuff on a piece of paper or on the wall, or even drive a rover around, but that's about it. If you're looking for complex puzzles or even basic combat, you're really not going to find it here. This game is a pure story game through and through, kind of like Firewatch. So if that's not your thing, then this might not be for you.
Their main ship's in sector AQ-28.
The Invincible? What? They didn't move it?
Seems so.
I'll try to track it down. Please tell me what else is in there.
Like us, they became interested in the ocean. They got there on the 7th day.
Quite late.
Guess they weren't in a hurry. Before setting up this base, they were stationed not far from here, but seemed very determined to reach this area. They dug a vast system of tunnels.
When did they finally get here?
On the 15th day of the mission.
And really, that last sentence is a pretty decent summary of the Invincible as a whole, I think. It's a walking simulator with amazing graphics, assuming it's not eating all your VRAM, and a really interesting story that weaves itself very well and respectfully into the source material. If you're a fan of Stanislaw Lem or just hard sci-fi in general, this game might be for you. If you're looking for any semblance of deeper gameplay, it's almost certainly not. This has been TheRatMan, and I will see you all later. And lastly, a thank you shout out to Mike Uniturtle. Thank you for the $5.